Heyo! Welcome to Storycraft Studio. Today, we're sharing a tutorial on how to make this dress. Joining me are these three models. They're here to show how versatile this pattern is. It's also fairly simple, so any skill level can pick it up, from expert to beginner. Now, let's get started. To make a dress, you need a pattern. To make a pattern, you need these tools. The model, pencil, paper to write your measurements on. I'm using a bit of scrap paper that I'm also going to pull the pattern from, draw the pattern on, and a tape measure. I have this cloth tape measure for tailoring because I make costumes, as I may have mentioned a few times, but you could probably just use a plain ruler. Just plain paper, wood or metal ruler will do you fine. At this scale, you should be doing precision, but this, as I've said, this pattern is very forgiving. So first measurement is how long you want it. You measure from just above the breast to however long you want it. I want this one about the knees, so 8. And I recommend centimeters because it's much clearer for a doll scale. Next is you're going to want to measure for the dart. Now the dart will be right at the waist, below the boobs, and above the hips. So that's 1 centimeter. And then you're going to want to measure the widest part. Now usually on most dolls that's the hip, but on these Cave Club dolls it's the feet. And this is an awkward measurement to take, but it's important. And I'm gonna go with 11. Now that we've got the measurements, we're gonna start marking them out. Got cords getting tangled up in. So. Oh wait, I missed a measurement. Okay. Sometimes I get all confuzzled. It happens. Another measurement you might want to take, that'll help, I'm not sure if it will help you, but it helps me, is if you've got a cloth one, go from the front, about the same place you measured for the length, around the back where the fabric will go, and then down to about the same area as where the dress will end. Here I've got 9 centimeters. That measurement will help you keep it level, otherwise the back will be shorter than the front. And that is 9 centimeters. Okay, so now we're gonna mark that. So here's the front, 8 centimeters, and the front you're gonna fold over when you do the cutting. So put that mark there. That's the universal mark for fold your fabric along this line. If you don't work with patterns, that's what that means. They tell you that on the instructions, thankfully, but just so you know ahead of time. Then mark the back. And then you take either a compass or a bowl or something that's got the right measurements, so you can get the right curve. So you want it to have a diameter that's double the length, because you're gonna get a 1/4. That makes sense, right? I hope that makes sense. Then you line it up with those marks you did. That helps. I didn't always do lining up with the marks, and it shows in some of the early patterns. Then you draw it. Ta-da! It's small, isn't it? It's a small doll. It's a lot more fabric though than it seems because it's, centimeters. Okay, then I double check on the doll. Double check on the doll often to figure out, let's see, about here is where I want to put the dart. Then give it centimeter. Make sure you're far enough away to get it in. I didn't. So to make the dart, you make it a diamond shape. That way, it'll pinch in right there. And so you remember that other measurement we've got here, the 11 centimeters, the widest part? I'm guessing at this point. But we're gonna do that in half, so that'll be about 6 centimeters. Well, 5.5. And that's roughly what you need. Again, double check on the doll, because this is where you mark where you end of the sewing line. So hold it there, and yep, that sits at the booty. And will it go around? Has to go around just 1 foot on this one. And yes, that was an awkward angle, but it checks out. And then you get your scissors and cut it out. And also, do not forget the dart. A good way to do it is to fold it in half on the dart, then cut it out. And there is our pattern. Oh, shoots. Okay, good for also pattern making. When you have something where you want to track where something should end or begin or something, make sure to leave a little mark so you can just mark that. Okay, now we're gonna go on to the cutting of the fabric. For this example, we're gonna use this yellow polka dot. First thing you do is open it up. And get so you can get at the back side. Never mark the front side if you can help it, the side that you want showing, because there's always the chance that a marker will show, and you don't want that. So as long as you can, use the back. We're gonna check if this is yep, that's a square angle. So now we're gonna fold it to as close as we can. Let's see. And make sure you're measuring right, because sometimes you measure wrong. Well, let's see, so about there. Set out. Well, let's flip it for my sanity. Okay. Always check against the pattern, as you always check against the doll. It's just always check. It'll make your life so much easier. And you pin the fabric so it doesn't unfold. And make sure you've always got a hand or something pressed against the fabric when you're doing doll size clothes, because we use such a small amount and they're usually from much larger pieces, so it can usually, yeah, it does that. It just slides away from you. It's so much easier when you're working with bigger pieces on a large table. So you just gotta always make sure you got something, and then pin the pattern to the fabric. Now some people will maybe mark this and this, the end and the dart, and that's fine. You can do that and it'll work well. That may be all you need, and then just cut this. Just eyeball it and use your scissors. My mother does that. It terrifies me. I mark. Because, you know, it just makes things a little easier. Also, I have a tendency to, let's call it overcut, where I cut it a little farther out from where I want it to end so that there's fabric to hem or attached to whatever other fabric I'm going to attach it to. See? Ta-da! Now I've got this extra that I can sew when I've got a clear line. And then if you do that, make sure you do it to the other side too. Mirror the marks. I mean, sometimes you don't have to. I like to, just in case, especially if I'm doing twin marks right like that. And then while I'm at it, I will also mark that. I just like to be cautious. You don't have to be this cautious, but I am. And now we move on to the next step. Ironing is a really important step you don't want to skip, because even if it doesn't look like there's any folds, ironing really helps you get it flat and straight and easy to manipulate when you go to fold it and stuff. If you don't have a traditional iron, which I don't understand why you didn't, I'm sorry, I have to judge you on this. You should have ironed clothes. I'm a costumer. I'm gonna say you need ironed clothes, so you need an iron. But if you don't have one, you can use a hair flat iron like we use for yarn hair. You just have to be extremely, extremely careful and be afraid. Just the entire time you got it on and you're working with the fabrics with this thing, be afraid. It'll save your fingers. But this is all while you're waiting for your iron or your flat iron to heat up and your fabrics to cool down after. It's a good time to start looking at ribbons and trims and stuff. I really like using lace and ruffles and stuff for the hem of the dress, because it just makes it so cute and fluffy. Also, you can pull out the ribbons for the belts, which you can attach or not attach. It's all up to you, but cute ribbons or really thin ribbons. You can use embroidery thread, but I don't recommend that for that. But you can use embroidery thread for the straps, which you may do, you may not do. If you get a belt that you can tie, you usually don't need straps, because it'll hold it there, the way that the dolls are built and such, but straps are a good idea if you want to get that look. And now we sew. Start by hemming the skirt. If you've got trims, laces, ruffles, anything, this is when you attach it to the bottom of the dress. Next, hem the top of the dress. If you're really confident about the placement, you can add the straps in as you do the hemming, but only if you're confident about the placement, otherwise you will end up with a skirt. I know this from experience. Now we do the darts. Fold the fabric in half along the top and bottom of the diamond, and then drop your needle at the inner point of the diamond. This way your fabric won't get caught up in the machine. Then just sew to the edge, back, edge, back. That made sense, right? The last step is to fold it in half and sew up the back. You now have a finished dress. Any extra trimmings or attaching the belt is up to you. Go creative. This is a great pattern to really go nuts on. Now let's look at some samples. Mahalo for watching. I hope you were entertained and you learned something. That's the point of a tutorial, after all. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and leave a comment. I'd love to chat with you guys about just about anything. I'm lonely. Please talk to me. Check me out on Instagram at Storycraft Studio for my dolls and art and just general stuff in general. And Sunset Lemonade for my fashion illustrations. Also, if you're on Artful, I'm there as Sunset Lemonade with all my fashion illustrations and my previous dolls. So glad you could join me today, and I hope to see you soon. Aloha!